Why did God choose Israel? When I first began studying prophecy, I remember reading an offbeat little rhyme about Israel by British journalist William Norman Ewer. How odd of God to choose the Jews. When you think about it, this poetic quip expresses a valid observation. Doesn't it seem a little odd that of all the people on earth, God selected these particular people to be his chosen nation? Why would God choose the Jews? The Bible tells us that his choice of Israel had nothing to do with merit. It was not because Israel was more numerous than other people in the world. It was the least. Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 7. It was not because Israel was more sensitive to God than other nations. Israel did not know him. Isaiah chapter 45 verse 4. It was not because Israel was more righteous than other nations. God called them a rebellious, stiff-necked people. Deuteronomy chapter 9 verses 6 to 7. Then why did God choose the Jews? The answer: because it was his sovereign purpose to do so. The return to the God of Israel. During my years as a pastor, I have been asked many times whether I believe Israel's return to its land fulfills all the biblical prophecies concerning its future. What people are really asking is this: now that Israel is restored to its land, is this the end? Many assume it is, but I have to tell them the answer is no. What is happening in Israel today is primarily the result of a secular Zionist movement, whereas Ezekiel wrote about a spiritual return of God's people to him. I will take you from among the nations, gather you out of all countries, and bring you into your own land. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will take the heart of stone out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you will keep my judgments and do them. Then you shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers. You shall be my people, and I will be your God. Ezekiel 36, verses 24, 26 to 28. The return of Jews to the refounded nation of Israel is the first stage of that regathering, but it certainly does not fulfill the requirements of a spiritual return to the Lord. But we can be assured that it will happen, just as God promised. I will pour on the house of David and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplication. Then they will look on me, whom they pierced. Zechariah chapter 12 verse 10. And so all Israel will be saved. As it is written, the deliverer will come out of Zion, and he will turn away ungodliness from Jacob. For this is my covenant with them, when I take away their sins. Romans chapter 11 verses 26 to 27. There are still two pivotal prophecies concerning Israel that have not yet been fulfilled. Israel does not yet occupy all the land originally promised to it, and its people have not yet turned to Christ. The numerous prophecies of Israel's return to its homeland were explicitly fulfilled in 1948, when Israel began to be restored to its land. This gives us assurance that full restoration is on the horizon, and the prophecies concerning Israel's return to God will also be fulfilled. As we wait for the fulfillment of these prophecies, Israel continues to grow as a nation. Against all odds, the people of Israel lead the Middle East in productivity, wealth, order, freedom, and military power. Yet as these assets increase, the nation becomes more and more isolated, continually terrorized by the murderous hostility of its surrounding neighbors. The most dramatic events lie ahead of us. Israel today is an island of less than 9 million immigrants, surrounded by a sea of 300 million enemies, many of them eager to wipe the tiny nation off the map. From a purely human point of view, it would seem inevitable that, sooner or later, Israel will be destroyed. Indeed, Israel has been attacked over and over since its founding, sometimes in outward wars and incessantly by terrorists. The Jewish people have survived by remaining vigilant, but they long for peace. According to the Bible, a future leader will fulfill this longing by brokering a peace deal with Israel's enemies. But Scripture also tells us that this peace plan will be broken, and Israel will be attacked once again, this time as never before. Countless armies will amass against the Boxed-in nation, leaving it with no human hope of victory. Only Christ's return, his judgment, and his reign will finally bring true peace to Israel. It is then that God's covenant with Abraham will reach its ultimate fulfillment. The Jews will return to the Lord, and they will be his people, and he will be their God. The borders of the land will expand to the dimensions described in Genesis 15 and Ezekiel chapter 48. Christ's return will also fulfill the prophecy that God would gather the Jews. Behold, I will gather them out of all countries where I have driven them. I will bring them back to this place, and I will cause them to dwell safely. They shall be my people, and I will be their God. Jeremiah chapter 32 verses 37 to 38. Ezekiel makes it clear that this gathering means he will return every single living Jew back to the land. For he wrote that the Lord said he would gather them again to their own land, and none of them will be captive any longer. Ezekiel chapter 39 verse 28. Today we see this prophecy being fulfilled right before our eyes. In 2006, Israel became home to the largest Jewish community in the world. From the 650,000 who returned when the Jewish state was founded in 1948, the population of Israel is expected to exceed 20 million by 2065. Israel's reemergence in her ancient homeland sets the stage for the final fulfillment of biblical prophecies. The return of the Jews to their homeland is also significant in another way. It pinpoints where we are on history's timeline. As Milton B. Leinberg pointed out, without the existence of the nation of Israel, we would not be able to say with certainty that we are in the last days. That single event, more than any other, is the most prominent sign that we are living in the final moments before the coming of Jesus. What does all this mean to me? The fulfillment of God's covenant with Abraham greatly affects every one of us. We have shown why it's important for our nation to continue to support and protect Israel. Nations that befriend Israel will be blessed. Those that do not will be cursed. The playing out of prophetic events concerning Israel also places us in the last days of history's timeline. The miraculous survival of God's covenant people, the Jews, demonstrates God's ability to accomplish his purpose in the face of what seemed to be impossible odds. The existence of Israel today is exhibiting that the Bible's prophecies concerning the future will be fulfilled. This means the future not only of Israel, but also of our world and our nation, as well as your future and mine. The astounding history of the Jews reveals the reality of God, his overwhelming power, the authenticity of his promises, the certainty of his existence, the urgency of his call to us, and his claim on our very being. That historic day in 1948, when Israel was reestablished as a nation, has been described as the most spectacular event in nearly 2 millennia of Jewish history. When President Truman read that statement and the United States officially became the first nation to recognize the birth of the modern state of Israel. The 2,500-year-old prophecy of the Bible was at last fulfilled. But here's the rest of the story. Later, when the chief rabbi of Israel, Isaac Halevi Herzog, called the White House, he told Truman, "God put you in your mother's womb so that you would be the instrument to bring about the rebirth of Israel after 2,000 years. One of Truman's men reported that, when he looked at Truman after the rabbi's statement, tears were running down his cheeks. I was 7 years old when the nation of Israel was established in 1948. I now believe the restoration of the Jewish people to their land is the most important prophetic sign to have occurred in my lifetime. More than any other sign described in this book, the prophetic future of the nation of Israel answers the question, is this the end? But an even greater prophetic fulfillment awaits an unknown future day, the return of the Jewish Messiah to the Jewish people. Thanks for watching. We're preaching and magnifying Christ. Please subscribe, like, and share for more videos.